All right, people, here we go. We're in here today. We're gonna jump in here a little bit early because CK's wound up and he's ready to go. He's in the back room back here, and he's just got all these stories just falling out of him. So I gotta hurry up and get him in here. You know what I mean? I'm like, CK, quit telling me all these stories. We're gonna talk about them right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring CK in here. I gotta probably select the Discord, and I gotta get into the properties and all this kind of stuff, and get the right Discord one with CK going. There we go. CK, how you doing? Welcome. We're glad you're here, buddy. Yeah, I know you were in the back there doing a little bit of cocaine, a la Mersh, and so you got to clean those nostrils out, okay?
That's okay. Hold on a second. I'm almost right.
All right. Hey, everybody wants to know, are you okay? We saw the pictures of you in the hospital yesterday. How's it going? Are you all right? What's going on?
That was sort of a what did I call it? Just an attention-seeking horseshit.
Well, you look great today.
No, it's one of those things that when you get all beat up at my age, and I mean, I've done martial arts for years and surfing for years and nursing for years with real dangerous people. So you get beat up. So every couple of months I get epidurals that keep the body greased up. On next couple weeks I gotta get one for a slap tear in both shoulders. From rowing and swimming.
From paddling into them waves, bro.
No more paddling, man. I'm too far gone on that. But I'm pretty beat up. And being a boomer, I don't like to complain, but I thought that was kind of funny. But it took a big twist yesterday. Oh shit, this didn't work at all. Oh
Yeah,
no, no.
everybody was freaking out. I was like, holy shit, is he gonna be able to talk tomorrow?
Well, gosh darn it, if they give me enough Fent, but that stuff, the last percent on the Fent, it lasts like 30 seconds when they inject you, and then
Yeah.
it's over. And
Oh,
you
okay.
sit around with pain in your neck. So it's nothing, but it costs with the insurance. I mean, I think they charge my insurance company 12 to 18,000 bucks for one of those.
Holy shit,
So,
that's crazy.
yeah, and at least I could. I mean, I know enough doctors because of my nursing practice and all the rest. I do get deals where I get the best doctors,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. But it doesn't mean that the insurance companies don't get screwed. I mean,
Right.
I got 3 insurances, which
Right,
is
right.
pretty rare. So anyway, I'm fine.
So you're all set. Well,
Anyways.
good. We were all worried about you. And then the second thing I want to ask you about is how's your camera? We were worried because you dropped your camera. It broke or something happened, and you were talking about that because if people don't know, you're a prolific photographer, great photographer. So how's that camera? Is it okay?
It's kind of a mess. I mean, I cleaned it wrong after that, trying to fix. So I've got one of the lenses scratched, and
Oh,
yeah, well, it doesn't scratch for the lens, but if I look through the viewfinder, it's scratched. So
Oh, okay.
that's got to be fixed.
yeah.
The other thing that did was when it dropped, I screwed up all of the electronics, but it was really an easy fix. It took me a couple hours to figure it out, and throw it against the wall. So that seems to work. I'm not very good with electronics, so
No, no.
that's
But
the thing. I'm
but
still
we gotta
working with.
we gotta keep you out there shooting them photos, man. You take great photos.
I love it. I really, it's my hobby, and it keeps me healthy and happy because I can't surf too much anymore. I've just got too many injuries. But I love taking pictures of it, and up here is probably one of the last little bubbles of full localism. So you get really good, happy people, and then you go to the wrong place, and here I am. People know who I am, and they'll scream and yell at me and throw shit.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, not my day. I know where you live, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that happens in surfing too much anymore, but it was a really big deal back in the 70s and the
Now,
60s.
Now, before we jump in, we tried to have this conversation maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago maybe, and we had a good chat, and the recording got corrupted because I didn't know what the hell I was doing on the settings, the technical issues, bro. I just jumped in both feet. But for people who don't know, you were around in the burgeoning time of the surf culture back in the 60s, down in Southern California, right by where they built San Onofre. Isn't that right?
Yeah, right at San Onofre. I'm gonna drop you a picture on Twitter because I'm afraid to do it on. I was screwing it up earlier, but I'm gonna drop a picture of the Hobie Mini Surf Team.
Okay.
We went through the pretty much. I guess I did 2 hours or something of pretty much the whole history
Yes.
of surfing, and then it was kind of corrupted. And I feel like instead of doing that, I'll start backtracking. I'll tell the story of myself, and I'll backtrack until if I could find these pictures. I've got hundreds and hundreds of pictures. I got
Sure.
185,000 pictures. Okay,
Yeah.
if you go into X,
What?
and you bring up that picture, not the picture of me in Big Sur, but the picture of me when I was a little kid in San Onofre. Do you have that, Ray?
Oh, it'll take me a minute to find it. Okay, I
Oh,
have it. You just go ahead and start telling a story, and I'll
all
pull
right.
the pictures up, and we'll come on back and show it because it might take me a second to download it, put it in the right folder, put it with the right thing, and have it display. Okay, so you just go ahead and
Yeah,
start.
okay. Well, that picture was taken in 1967 when you bring it up, and I think everybody's going to like this photo. It's like scrawny me on the small left-hand side. I was just a scrawny little kid, but almost every single one of those kids became a pro surfer
Yeah.
or was affiliated in surfing some way. And those kids like me, we call ourselves the second generation surfers because the first generation surfers were still already surfing. There were guys that were, that would go fishing out in Stan Ofree and come in on their paddle boards holding on to a fish.
Okay.
The fish caught off their surfboard, and they're abalone diving. You can go off Stan Ofree or anywhere in Dana Point before the harbor and just pry abalone off, off the rocks. And I don't know how far back. Once I go into a story like this, I want to go farther back and farther back. So I'll just stay with these kids first.
Right, here we go. I got
One
the
Okay.
picture up.
One of the kids on the other side is Hobie Alter and Jeff Alter, and I used to be babysat by Hobie Alter Jr. and Jeff Alter, and then I was babysat by a guy named John Severson that started the surfing, the surf magazines. So I knew all these people. My mother, my parents are Van Dykes, Gustafson, so they're all in the Surf Museum. Just to give you kind of a background, every single one of those kids, like there's a taller guy with some jammy shorts on the top. He's got his dad's got photos of him building surfboards and in Life magazine during World War II.
Wow.
So, and I could drop those photos too, but I don't know how far back you want to go chronologically. But just to say that every single one of those kids, the tallest kid, E.J. Osher's son, E.J. Osher was a pioneer. He was one of the first guys, and his family was one of the first people that when the princess of Hawaii came over and introduced surfing, along with Duke, I think he was Duke Hanamoko that introduced it, but prior to that, he had family back in the 1800s, in the 19th century, that brought surfing to California and again to the old world. And then Duke Hanamoko was in there. That's the whole big Duke thing. And if you don't know who Duke Hanamoko is, kind of look up in the history. But my uncle Fred Van Dyke ran the first Duke Hanamoko contest, so it's all interrelated. And these kids were, we were just little brat kids. And 1967 was still the longboard era. So anyway, that's kind of what the story of that picture is, but it branches.
Yeah, and then they built San Onofre. They ripped up all of the reef out there. They changed the whole face of the surf culture at that time by pouring all that concrete and building that power plant. Is that right?
Oh yeah, they destroyed it. That was a real sad thing because that was my growing years. Like, if anybody's from Southern California, Dana Point had maybe 1,000 people. There's no Laguna Niguel, no Mission Viejo, no Laguna Hills. There's San Clemente, I think, had 10,000 people, and they were blowing up. They were actually TNTing the harbor at Dana Point in around 1966, and they were building the nuclear power plant at around that time also. And I think I gave you a picture of my sister standing up in Stan
Oh yeah.
Ofree, and she's just paddling in the tide pools, and in the background you see a pier.
Yeah. Well,
If you don't
CK sent me a whole bunch of pictures, and I put them in this album right here.
see that pier in the background,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
pier is the cooling pipe for the nuclear power plant.
wow,
And that guy that's standing up, kind of the big old burly dude, that
yeah,
guy was a underwater UDT diver for the Navy, well, before Navy SEALs in World War II. Just real
yeah,
badasses. I mean, you
yeah.
think of surfers as kind of the Gidget, stoners, but these guys were real bad news. Okay, that was 1969 with a friend named Tom Beard. And that's when we started sawing down all those old surfboards with and making little backyard surfboards. And that was sort of the evolution of surfing. Yeah, that was 69. I was like 11. But since we were in the middle of it, we got
Yeah.
a lot of recognition. Like if you remember guys like Michael Ho or
Yeah, yeah, I know
Jackie,
Michael Hall. Yeah.
these guys were my friends when I was a little kid. Yeah, that was later, 1980 something for an advertisement. I got rejects, and then the top one was from Bernie Baker Island Style. The guy ran all. He still kind of runs the pro contest at Sunset Beach, and I was on Team O'Neill at that. Well, I was captain of O'Neill's team.
Look at
That's surf.
that! Look at that one. That one is a beauty.
I just got off the plane that day.
Look at this! Look at this wave right here. Incredible.
It's sunset.
It's sunset. That's in Hawaii. If you guys
But
don't
the other
know,
one, that was like the tail end of a backdoor pipeline or backdoor wave, yeah. And
so CK's got the chops, people. CK was out there really doing it. He was out there really doing the thing. He was out
okay,
there
that's the biggest wave ever surfed at Pleasure Point.
Wow.
As far as I know, nobody's ever surfed a wave bigger than that.
Wow.
And then that's the lower wave is up here at the harbor at Humboldt, and that's kind of a cool thing. You guys can go on my. Yeah, I got really crappy. I just got a video camera sent up to me, and I've got to figure out how to use it. So I'm going to be taking videos.
Hell yeah! What kind of video camera did you get?
I'll show it to you in a second.
Okay, cool. We'll take a look at that.
I have no idea, you guys. It's just a crummy one. He hasn't used it since for 2008. You can see it on here. It's called this.
Okay, yeah,
It's
I
just
got you. Sony.
one. It's
Okay.
got pretty good things, but the guy's got all these pictures of his Christmas stuff and his kids on there. So I gotta wait for a new thing. I'm not gonna delete it, and I've got to figure out how to do it because I don't know how to edit or anything. It's going to be a whole new thing.
Yeah. I hear you. If you need any help, I'll send you videos. Okay, buddy.
No, I bet you somebody in chat knows all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, okay, that picture and the picture on your wall. Okay, we won't go into skateboarding yet, but the picture on the wall.
Yeah.
My sister. Don't worry about the skateboarding. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Because I was big on skateboarding too. Remember this?
Oh,
picture?
yeah.
This is one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, that's when I was captain of Team O'Neill. He's Sean Thompson and Jeff Crawford and Reno Avalere, and we used to go to schools and promote surfing, and how to get stoned, how to do a line of cocaine, how to take blotter LSD and still surf. Okay, that's part of it.
So the important stuff.
There's like 4 or 5 guys like Vince Collier and Richie Schmidt, and some of those guys didn't even show up because they were too stoned. So that's the other side of that story. But that picture is okay. That's my whole family. Hold that on to that for a little bit because my uncle Fred Van Dyke's got the Lowenbrow beer. He's the guy. He's the guy on the top. My sister Karen is the person that's the Surf Guide magazine picture of the little girl surfing.
Yeah.
Alita, the Hawaiian girl next is my uncle's daughter, and she was the cover. God, she's a gorgeous girl. Anyway, who else do I got on there? The scrawniest little kid is Chris Gallagher. That's my youngest brother, and he was in the top 40 in surfing when surfing first, got really big, and he's shaping boards over Hawaii now. My sister Karen and my sister Christina are still running surf shops over in Hawaii. And
wow, what surf shops are they running? What island? Do you know what island they're on?
Oahu.
Because next time I go there, I'm gonna go to the surf shop and I'm gonna tell them, hey, your brother sent me.
Yeah, she'll kick you out.
Oh, really? She mad at you?
No.
I was gonna say, damn.
I don't know. I love every single one of those people.
Of course you do. They're your family, right? They're your family.
Yeah.
But okay, so we'll go through some more pictures in a minute, but
that picture is really, I took the picture, so I wasn't in the photo, but
yeah. So when did you start taking pictures?
Oh God. Okay, this is a story that I'm gonna glaze over. You got a picture of bring up the picture of my mother surfing with one leg. You got that one? I threw that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I have it. Let me. You tell the story. I'll find it.
Yeah, my mother was an amputee. She had gangrene back in 1948. and had her leg amputated because they were afraid to use penicillin. So, all of us, kids were sort of miracle kids because, I think we all came out mentally retarded from that. But it's, but, um, she died of cancer when I was 10 years old, and all my brothers and sisters were way younger. So nobody was there to take photos of the family. So I took over the camera. And so every single time, I did some work or something, I just started taking photos and started journaling. And to this day, besides photography, I think my writing is what people should really read more than my words. Well, actually, this is the first time that I've ever really talked about surfing. Yeah, you guys. I mean, she was amazing. It was before Bethany Hamilton or anything like that. I mean, not surfing with one arm is one thing, but surfing with one leg, think about
Yeah,
that.
that's impressive.
And that was during the balsa wood board days. So what people used to do is, they take her down with her crutches, and drop her crutches off and just let her go out. And she was fourth place in. I could talk about her all day long, but I won't. She is
Is
fourth place in the Waikiki swim thing. Oh, that's me on a surfboard. One of the. I mean, I grew up on a surfboard. I took my
yeah.
first steps on a surfboard.
Was that in
And
Hawaii? Were you living in Hawaii at the time?
no, it was Southern California, Capistrano
Okay.
Beach, in those
Okay.
days. The other one is, Hillbilly would like that one. That's
Yeah,
my
I'll
two
show.
brothers. My brother and my sister are Shotokan and Bo Tukukai. And then I've got black belts in Taekwondo and Botukukai and Bagua.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
So you're a full on adventurer then, okay?
we're freaking, as much as I'll talk about the stories of drugs and stuff like that, athletes. I mean, we just, we're nuts
Yeah, you like
with
to be
with
out there. You like to have it going, make it happen.
yeah. So, the injections and all the rest is just something you do when you're a boomer. I really
Yeah,
hate hippies. I just
yeah.
want to express the fact that I hate hippies, liberalism, find a cure, let's kill hippie. Oh, no, no, let's not. No, you'll
Yeah,
get
yeah.
busted
No,
up.
that's right. That's right. Now, so you're around the San Onofre. They build the San Onofre, and that changes the surf culture. That starts to inject a lot of. You said drugs came in at that time, and surf
Oh,
culture
man,
just changed.
it did. Thanks for bringing me back. That was a big, big, hard tangent. What happened is the surfing went from balsa woods to foam. So surfboards were really, got lighter. You can see the picture of my sister in 1965, with that big long board, and we stripped them down so we could have 10, 15-pound surfboards. So that's one thing that kind of changed everything. It made it more accessible. The second thing that changed was, I'm talking too fast. Just, it's
No,
another
you're
line
you're
of
you're
code.
doing great. Keep going. Keep going.
The second thing that changed was the way that Hollywood, just made surfing seem like it was the coolest bitchin' thing in the world, but
Yeah,
that wasn't the
glamorized
right
it.
time. It glamorized it and it screwed it up really bad, 'cause these people had their own little surf cultures and, they'd play ukulele and jam on the beach, and go out and collect abalone or whatever else. And that all ended. It ended really fast within a couple of years.
With the
Two
movies.
things
Everybody wanted to move out there, right?
And two things that happened, and I won't get into the chords thing yet. That happened in the early 70s. The other thing that happened was, for me, living in Dana Point, we could build forts and we could go out and learn how to shoot 22s and herd sheep too. Well, I wasn't having sex with the sheep, but I was, herding sheep all over the place. Okay, maybe once, you guys.
Well, you gotta try
Um,
it. You gotta see what it's all about, right?
it wasn't bad.
Or maybe she was just really ugly girl. You don't know, right? Hard to tell back then.
There weren't hippies back then. Okay, that's ROTC shit. Sorry, I hope Mersh hears this. Or Royce. He hates me. Anyway, so what happened was they blew up the reefs
Yeah.
in two different places. They blew up the reefs in Dana Point to start a harbor. and they blew up the reefs on the other side to start a nuclear power plant. So we were stuck right in the middle during the Vietnam War going on. So we had Marines because San Onofre's on Camp Pendleton Marine Base, and here we've got Marines that are giving me away their lighters and all the rest, and giving me letters to send to their parents because they're going to go off to Vietnam and get killed. And they're like 18-year-old kids that were
Yeah.
surfing San Oak, and now they're going off to Vietnam, and we've got the reefs being blown up in two different places. It was just, I mean, it went from a mellow place at San Onofre to a freaking war zone. I
Wow.
mean, the Marines would bring in maneuvers with all their tanks and stuff and run right up the beach and drop their helicopters right on the beach just to say fuck you to the surfers. It got heavy and hard.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
what they did is Richard Nixon moved in
Yeah.
1969 with the Western White House. And we
Yeah,
had,
right
I
there in
mean,
San Clemente.
some of the guys, like, we always had access to Cotton's Point. And we were one of the families that still had access to Cotton's Point because if you got Clark foam surfboards for the foam, Grubby Clark lived out there. So we used to go out and visit him. So I got rolled up once because I was 11 years old, and we are throwing rocks at the Western White House. And this Selective Service came out there. What do you call it? The Secret Service came out there and grabbed us. And then another time, I don't know which way it went. I think it went first. It was Nixon, had to do this little thing with the convertible and shake hands with all us elementary school kids, and he didn't shake my hand, and I gave him the finger. I didn't
You
even
you
know I
gave him
gave
the
him the
finger?
yeah, it's just big old up yours, Richard. Because he took. It was as short as it is now, but it was. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was. So I had to sit on the school bus, and get yelled at by a Secret Service guy. And that's right. That was the first thing. The second thing was we're out there throwing rocks at the Western White House, and it was the same Secret Service guy that grabbed me.
Wow.
I wasn't very good at getting away. But anyway, the whole big thing is that place was a pristine, beautiful. You couldn't imagine. I mean, the water was just pristine, clear. You can get abalone, and I'd show you some pictures of some of the other guys, but we'll go off onto something else. But
Yeah.
it destroyed the place within a few years. So by about
Wow.
1969, the Marines there was a full-on war that was going on between the surfers, because you had to have security for Richard Nixon. You had the second thing with the Tet Offensive going on with the Vietnam War. So there was hostilities with the draft. There was hostilities with the Marines, and people were coming back and dying and crying. And then you had the nuclear power plant, and there was high security there, so you couldn't even go walking down the beach. Where if anybody wanted to walk down the beach, there were these caves back there, and people would just go down there and have sex, do whatever. And then if you went north toward Dana Point, they were blowing up the reefs for
Yeah.
the small harbor, and you couldn't surf there. And Doheny was just, you know, big bleach boy, and Doheny or whatever. It ended. It
Now,
ended on.
for people who don't surf, when you find a good break, I mean, you keep that, right? And so if it's a treasure, if somebody comes in and they destroy it, it is heartbreaking, and it changes the entire culture, the entire neighborhood. So that must have been a tremendous impact and scattered people away from Southern California.
It was bad. It was really bad, and you had people that still lived off the ocean back then. Besides the fishermen and stuff, there were people that just you call them hobos or surf bums, But these guys lived in their vans, and they'd go out and collect their abalone or go fishing, and then they'd trade the abalone for food or do odd jobs, and that's how they lived.
Wow.
And some of these guys were old World War II vets, so they had shell shock or whatever else. So when you get rid of those people, kind of like what happened with COVID, all the mom
Yeah.
and pop stopped,
Yeah.
just to give it a sort of
Context. Yeah.
a parallel, and all of a sudden it's all gone. was all gone, and nobody had any power to do anything. And that's why they got the the Surfing Heritage Foundation and some of this other stuff, try and save the reefs. But at the time, nobody had anything. So I remember just being a kid, and the guy Bruce Brown, who did the movie Endless Summer,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, I love that movie.
he lived right on Dana Point, and so I sat there. I knew his son. Like, we were all in school. That 1967 picture. We were all in school together. So we'd go down there and watch these guys all crying,
Oh wow.
because that was the reef, and watching them dynamite the reef, and we're like, kids going, well, is it going to grow back? Well, no, it's not going to grow back.
Yeah,
This is the end of it, and it made their houses worth a lot of money, but everybody left.
yeah.
I mean, the
Wow.
only people left at the time was Surfer magazine that was in Dana Point at the time, and Surfing magazine that was in San Clemente. And I wrote for both of those magazines.
Yeah,
So
I probably got a couple of your issues that you wrote in because I used to collect those. But
I ghostwrote a lot, and then I did name dropping stuff, especially in the later 80s. I did
yeah,
a lot of name dropping stuff, but I ghostwrote Clark Little's book with the photography, and you've got gosh, what's the hottest dude in the world right now? Kelly Slater. He
yeah.
couldn't write for it. Sorry, Kelly. Right. He was like a second grade writer. Nice guy, whatever. So I ghost wrote a lot of what he did, said in there. But
Yeah, I met
anyway,
him and John out at Pipe Masters one year. Nice guys.
they're both great guys.
Yeah,
I'm
great
not
guys.
gonna. I mean, I can give him a little bit of shit, but he wouldn't know me from Adam. I'm like,
Yeah,
good lord, but those guys are just
in,
amazing.
insane, incredible. Yeah. And so then you said, okay, so after they blew up the reefs, and you said that the next big thing to really impact the surf culture was when drugs came in, like heroin, like hard drugs.
Oh yeah, that was tough. The LSD was one thing, but I seen guys, like when I was a psych nurse, I knew a couple guys that it just happened to be in state hospital system that I could talk story with the guys. What happened to you? It was the LSD. Tell everybody out there that LSD will fuck up your brain, kind of thing. Okay, I already know that. That's why I'm here. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was one thing. The other thing was hard drugs. Like, the weed wasn't like the weed now is 10 times, 140 times better.
yeah,
But the other thing that got in there was, yeah, they started. There was a lot of pills. I mean, I wasn't involved in that, but I saw it. And heroin. Heroin. When I first went to Hawaii, the first time I stayed with my uncle, it was 1975, and my uncle was telling me, don't go up to Rocky Point, that's the heroin place. Don't go, down toward Off the Wall, which is, you say, west of Pipeline.
yeah,
They're the heroin dealers. And so you
yeah,
walk down there and you see Mr. Pipeline. Well, I'm not going to mention names, are dealing heroin.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's a big deal.
I was a part of, and I just wanted to go over there. My whole big thing was to surf the biggest waves in the world before I was 18, and I did that. That's
Yeah,
like my claim to fame. But at the time, there's all these hot spots, and I didn't know what heroin was. I mean, I was kind of a surf kid. I knew what LSD was. I mean, a surf pipeline on LSD. But
yeah,
little tasters, fun stuff. But man, you didn't want to screw yourself up with drugs, because it's, screwed up your life. But it was really weird walking down. Well, okay, let me tell you a story to put this in context. So I was a part of the Pipe House, the Pipe Underground. Okay, there was the stars they have a movie out called, I can't remember, it was called Free Ride or something, or I can't remember what it was, but the Australians came into town, and they
oh
were
yeah, yeah.
breaking down the door, breaking down the doors.
Yeah.
Okay, and
What was
I
his
was in the
name?
middle.
Yeah,
There were gangs, like the Tahui gang,
yeah,
that's big. You can get stuff from Costco now. Well, Tahui were real badasses. Okay, anybody who surfed in a contest at the time was going to get their ass kicked. And it so happened to be the Australians at that time. So you guys did that. So I'm the person that's at at the pipe house. And what we do is we had a couple of shapers there, and I'd fix dings over in the corner. So I'd fix dings for Rory Russell or all these other surfers, and we were okay because we weren't really the contest guys. And yet you'd see this fight, like, oh gosh, how can I explain this? I think I screwed up the story, but we were sort of um, it was like the church, where nobody fought in the church, but you could fight
Yeah,
outside of the church.
the safe
So
zone. There was a safe zone. Yeah.
yeah, it was sort of a safe zone, and we were, But the thing is some of those guys at the pipe house were, Christians, and they were going to church, and then there were some other guys that were doing heroin. And they'd sniff heroin. I don't think anybody's shooting up at the time. And they go out and get their ass kicked at Pipeline, and they come in with broken ribs. And what are you doing? You'd see them they'd rubberize, and they'd bounce off the reef, and oh, geez, we have to go up the Kahuku. And almost everybody who surfed in Pipeline had a first name basis for Kahuku Hospital, me included. I got hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, pipeline's no joke for people who don't surf, man. It's like 6 to 8 feet of water that break in right on top of that reef right there, that rock reef, and it's maybe like a foot or 6 inches, and you're all that power. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. 1975, 17 years old. There wasn't that many people. Like now, you got 100 guys that are out there. At that time, there were maybe 6 or 7 guys on a third reef day. I'm 17 years old. I go out
The third reef day is when it's really, really big and it breaks out far. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gigantic. Okay, and it's killer. And I saw a guy back pedal off his surfboard. I just paddled out, and there's Lopez was out, and I think Hackman and a few other guys. Good old watermen. I'm a scrawny 17-year-old kid, and these guys have been surfing the place for 10 years. And this guy back pedals off his surfboard and just goes off the falls. And the first wave of the set is the wave that you really don't want to catch out there because all the other ocean is coming. So what this guy is, he goes off his surfboard, and 2 waves pass, and all of a sudden he pops up right next to me, and his skull is cracked all the way through. Brains coming out. I'm 17 years old looking at this guy, and his eyeballs are rolling out, his head. He goes, "Don't worry about me. I'm going to die before I hit the beach." And I'm like, well, fuck, what am I supposed to do? As Butch Van Arsdale, the lifeguard was off, he couldn't have gone out there anyway. So these 2 guys, I can't remember who they were, they grabbed him, got him to the beach, and he dies. But 2 waves after the guys, they're trying to roll this guy in, the surfboard pops up. It was underwater for like 2 minutes, and there was pressure dings all the way through the surfboard. There's holes in his surfboard. So it gets stuck in these gigantic caverns, you guys. I mean, some part of the reef is flat, but then there's these gigantic caverns that are shaped like this and go under, so you can get stuck underneath there and you can't get back up. And so that was the first death I saw. And then a couple of weeks later, just 2 little kids were walking down that beach, and they just got swept away and gone. That was it. And then this was all within, a few weeks of each other. God, there's so many horror stories.
Hawaii is no joke. The ocean out there is unlike any ocean anywhere in America. It's powerful. There's underwater caves and caverns, like CK said. When you get held under, it's like a washing machine. And the waves are so powerful, and the reason why they're powerful is because there is no continental ridge to knock out the power. You're getting 100% power of the waves. Whereas like in California, maybe we only get like 70% or 60% of the power. But you get all that power just localized right there. And so that's why you get the best waves. But it's also extremely, extremely dangerous. And the current can pull you right out of the island chain and pull you right into open ocean. And if that happens, there's nothing you can do. You have to get rescued by somebody on a Sea-Doo or on a boat or something. So it's extremely dangerous, like he's saying.
it was an eye opener. Because
Oh, and a
it's not.
skull opener too, right?
That was rough. That year was I did again. I surfed Waimea, which was closeout Waimea. I was 17 years old, and I got my whole big thing was to surf. You know, that's kind of what the book is all about. Is my adventure to make it to this spot. And I remember well, I was the last guy surfing in, and there were these two boogie boarders that were paddling out. And you know, who knows if I'll ever finish the book, but it was closed out. It was pitch black, and I'm 17 years old on this other guy's surfboard, and nobody's there. So it's dark. You've got 35, 40-foot waves if it's closing out Waimea, and you're a 17-year-old kid that's out there by yourself.
Wow.
And so I was trying to figure out how to get in, and you know, because I was the last guy out there, and you know, who's going to get you? They didn't have jet skis or anything like that back then. So I made it in on a small wave, which was very fortunate. And I'm coming in, and there are these two boogie boarder guys that were coming back. I mean, yeah, it's pitch black. I go, get in, you know, it's close out. You're gonna die. And they never found them either. So that's what
Wow.
happens in Hawaii, and it's, you know, they didn't have newspapers and they didn't want to publicize that stuff. So the guy with the cracked skull was never even publicized. And the people that, you know, the little kids that drowned, you don't have the cameras or anything on them. It's just, you know, they disappeared. That's a tragedy. So long, see you later. But that was, you know, that kind of segues into the other part of what surfing was really crowded at the time, even back then, and cords were introduced, you know, surfer straps, surfer leashes, and you got all of a sudden you've got these people that can surf California or Florida or something like that, and then they've got a cord where they don't have to swim. And I mean, you can see in who I am, you get these big old shoulders from surfing all the time. You didn't have to do that anymore because if you didn't swim, you know, you could just grab your surfboard and you don't have the stamina from like these old big, you still have it with the big wave riders to this day. Like, um, I can't think of names right offhand, but
Well,
you
like
know,
with
the guys,
the Eddie Iaku Open and all of that kind of stuff, and you know they have that every year. You have to be invited to that, and they have a lot of that. You're right, and they ride the big guns, and you
and
see like you see a lot of them, like Kai Lenny. He's a good example. He's got that
so
big
that's
wave
what I was thinking
endurance.
of. Yeah,
Yeah,
they practice and they have like, they have a whole team that teaches them, you know, all kinds of resistance stuff and all the rest. Those guys are still good.
yeah.
Um,
They have
at the
a whole training regiment. You know that they do. They don't just go out and surf anymore. They lift weights. They have plyometrics. They run miles. They do all kinds of stuff.
it's a real science and a
It's a
real sport.
professional athlete. Yeah.
You know, back then, you know, it's I think there is one I think I can't remember what it's called, Crystal Blue or something, where you got a girl that's walking on the bottom of the ocean holding on to a rock. And that stuff
Yeah.
really happened. I think it still happens now where you get down so far and you grab a rock and then you walk on the bottom of the ocean. And that stuff was going on. But the thing that really disturbed people was when the cords came out. Now, pipeline, so if you're a pipe guy, like I was, you know, before I went off to Sunset and these other places, that's like the purest, hardcore badasses that can surf. You
Right.
know, I mean, those were like the top guys, and I was a part of that. Now, the thing was that I wasn't really a part of was cords. When cords came in, there was a whole big no-no. You don't surf pipeline with a cord on. And I saw, you know, a lot of guys get their asses kicked, their house cars burned up, you know, and all the rest because you just don't go out there and you sort of still took turns. You had this whole big surfing etiquette where you just don't, you know, pop your cord loose, you lose surfboard and you come back into the lineup and you think you're going to catch the next wave. No, you got to wait. You know, you got to wait your turn kind of stuff. And that sort of messed everything up. it was kind of messed up in, 73. I think Cords came in with Pat O'Neill and a couple of other guys around 1972 in Santa Cruz. And here I was, Team O'Neill. So what can I
Yeah.
say about that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the cord thing was a really bad thing. And it's a good thing also. It's a safety issue, but it was a really bad thing because it had tons of people coming into surfing. And like you're saying earlier, surfing the same waves and you're making it crowded and making it more unsafe because there's more people. And so people want to leave that area because, that's not their place anymore.
Yeah.
That's, and it's too crowded and there's hostilities. And I was a part of the whole hostility 1970s thing where everybody was just, getting on an airplane and trying to find their own paradise, which is pretty hard to find. You got to learn a different language or whatever else. But the cord stuff was really bad, and I was considered. I didn't even know what purist was, but I never used a cord unless I was in contests. Like you'll see some of the pictures where I'm wearing a cord because I had to because I was on a team or something. But otherwise, I swam. I'm an ocean swimmer. I just all the way up until a few years ago, I'd swim 3 miles
Wow.
and
Now,
no problem. It's
now
cold here.
you were telling me that you were in Southern California. Then all the drugs and crazy stuff came in, and at some point you moved up north. When did that happen?
That was, yeah, there was a lot of family issues that were going on as my mother passed away, and not having a mother and having a bunch of brothers and sisters, we were it was really tough. But we moved to Florida for my dad's business. He was a computer programmer back then, and nobody even knew what computers were, except if you watched Star Trek.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're going up to Mountain View because they had a linear accelerator there, and it was the beginning of Silicon Valley. That was 1971, 1970, 71. So we moved up there, and my uncles and stuff a couple of uncles lived in Santa Cruz. One was an acid freak, just a complete nutball, and the other guy was an athlete like me. Well, I wasn't anything. I was just an 11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But so I was trying to tell my dad, I said, we're in Mountain View. There's 40 miles away. We've got Santa Cruz. I want you to see Santa Cruz. So we went over there to look at Santa Cruz, and I actually found the guy. I used to have really amazing ability to just find, just map things out and find stuff. And I found my uncle at Pleasure Point. That's, where we lived. And my dad just fell in love with the place in 20 minutes. Actually, I think it was about 2 hours. We went down the street and found a house for 19,000 bucks. I think it's worth
Wow.
$3 million, and bought the house. Pissed off the
Wow.
surfers that were in there. So within 2 hours, we went from Mountain View that we're going to live in Silicon Gulch, and we moved to Santa Cruz, and that was a whole new thing.
Now,
It's like,
how
okay,
did you adjust to the cold water?
that's a story of legend. God, man, from 80, I think it was like Florida was like 85, 90-degree water. And then you're stepping into 55-degree water. And
So
it
cold.
was a little short john wetsuit. And I remember trying to paddle out with my friends, that were all acclimated. You stupid little kook. It was really hard. So I went off and I got a wetsuit. I think I spent my last $50 for a full length wetsuit. And then I met, Jack O'Neill and his kids that I went to school with, and all of a sudden they're just going like, "Why are you wearing that wetsuit? Why don't you wear one of our wetsuits?" So that was a cool thing because Santa Cruz, just like anywhere else, has an eclectic sort of group of people. Santa Cruz was. They still have an argument whether Huntington Beach is the surf capital of the world or Santa Cruz is the surf capital of the world. And there's this big fight. I think they're both.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take away from Huntington Beach. There's so many good surfers down there, and it's such a back in the 70s or 60s and stuff, you had surf shops all over the place. It created a huge industry. And
Yeah.
Santa Cruz was the same way, except for there's a difference in surfing. Like Huntington Beach, when I went down there and surfed in contests, you couldn't beat those guys because they could surf the small waves and they could surf amazingly surf. You know, they
Yeah.
were the real true hot doggers. In Santa Cruz, we have reefs, we have slabs, so it's a whole different type of surfing. We're more capable of making that jump from, and I don't know if you guys in chat can understand that. If you got munchy waves, it's really hard to jump from anything that's like Huntington Beach to or Florida to Hawaii. It's just a
Yeah.
whole different style. But Santa Cruz, you can make that jump a little bit easier because the waves are similar but colder. So anyway, that's all of a sudden I had this big learning curve and surfing is going from being a little hot dogger kid to figuring out how to surf big waves and how to surf waves that you could actually get tubed on besides going to Salt Creek or something. And so that was my teenage life. My teenage life was Santa Cruz, but Santa Cruz got encroached upon also. You know, and I was kind of going back and forth. And I lived in Hawaii for a while there. And the encroachment of surfing can either live with it, you bear with it, or you just keep running. You
Yeah.
keep running away until you find your little pocket. And I think that's where I stopped the last time when we were talking, but the audio kind of got messed up. But for me personally, is I love surfing. You know, I was started my own teams. I wrote for magazines. We started a magazine. You know, my sisters owned a surf shop, Sunset Beach Surf Shop. I think it got burned down in 1995 or something. I have no idea what that's all about. But I'm one of those kind of people that, like I said a little bit earlier, is I'm sort of a purist. I mean, I won a lot of surf contests and I, you know, bumped heads with some of the best surfers, but surfing, that's another contextual issue or sort of a not contextual. Let's just say that there was in the 1970s, you went for surf contests or you went to become a purist.
Right.
And people in the middle, like I was talking about the Hui boys, they
Yeah.
were like, no contest, you know, get out of here. So that's where the Black Shorts gang, you know, got involved. And then you've got, gosh, what do you call it? Anyway, I'll think about it. I'm an old boomer. I can't remember too many names anymore.
No, I think
Uh,
all of this is fascinating, and it really paints a picture of what I used to think that surfing was like, and it's funny because you talk about how the surf culture has changed, and it's even changed in my lifetime from when I used to travel all up and down Southern California, Central California, and surf, and then I went out to Hawaii, and I went to Costa Rica, and I went to all these places, and I've watched it change just in my short lifetime. I remember so many places down in San Diego that I would surf, and gradually it got so much more crowded and crowded and crowded and crowded and crowded until you couldn't even surf anymore. You sometimes you'd go out and you get one or two waves in 2 or 3 hours, and that's it. It got so crowded.
That was the difference with, I mean, living in Hawaii was great, but I go down a pipeline even, and this was the early 80s, you know, like 79, 88, 83, I think I kind of left Hawaii. I can't remember what year it was. But it was just, it got to the point where if you had the guys, you know, like the tour guys going in, and I did the tour. I didn't do the full world tour, but I did the Hawaii tour a couple times and it was so crowded that the local guys wouldn't even surf Sunset Beach and they wouldn't surf Pipeline and they just go somewhere else. They
Yeah,
go over to Kauai. You know,
yeah,
they just surf Mauna Kea or they'd surf these other places and wait for these guys to leave. And then January, February, March, they'd come back to Pipeline and then the
yeah,
fights would start. You know,
yeah.
you're
And,
still, you know, go on the tour.
and
And so
that's
it's
how
that,
that's how it was when I was in Hawaii. I remember it was just like all of a sudden I lived there a couple years. All of a sudden one day, everybody from the tour just showed up, and you'd see guys just ripping everywhere, and like there were so many people out. and then 3 months later they're gone. It's just empty again, and you could go back out and surf.
Yeah, it's I mean all of that stuff surfing is great in so many ways, but there's so much animosity and so much hostility is that there's not enough waves for the people to surf on it.
Yeah.
So, when I'm saying, hey man, it was Hollywood, hey, it was, it was shortboards, hey, it was the courts, hey, it was the crowds, hey, it was the hype. All this stuff is real. Hey, it was the destroying the reefs. All of this stuff happened. So it became it became homogenized. Surfing has become homogenized, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's good because people nowadays, I mean, you're still surfing, Ray, and I'm not. I'm watching it. Up here, we still have some little local spots, but overall, people are really happy and really stoked, which is really neat because that sort of brings me back to the way it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
And some people have that surf stoke all the way through, and that's fantastic. But if you get in the middle of only catching one wave in 3 hours,
Yeah.
and you're an athlete and you want to go out there and you deserve to catch 50 waves in 2 hours and go home. That doesn't happen too much
No.
anymore. So you have to find that place, and then you have to decide. Like for me, it's just like, okay, I caught so many waves in my life. I surfed the biggest waves in the world at that time in my life. I surfed Mavericks before it was Mavericks. It was called
Hmm.
Radars because they had the radar tower there. I surfed that before, it got popular in the 1990s and know all those guys. I did everything that I wanted to do. And if I had to fight, if I had to go out and fight for waves and I'm a martial artist, and I got these knuckles all beat up, I don't want to punch somebody for a wave.
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
to do that.
It ruins it, and also the surf etiquette has completely changed. There used to be a lot of understanding in the lineup of who goes when, and now nobody cares, and it's just a mad dog race for it. And there's no
Yeah.
organization anymore.
Yeah, and there's, I don't know how to change it. You say, well, this is an intermediate thing. You can't surf here because you're not a pro. And if you're a pipeline, how many years you have to surf there? You can't do that. So it's all kind of a mess. And the crowds, like when I say that there was a crowd at Pipeline, if you do, we call it Kodak Reef. If it was an F12, F16 on your camera, you didn't
Yeah.
surf out there because everybody wanted to be out there with 10 photographers and Dan Merkel's out there taking pictures. And you go, okay, I'm waiting for the overcast days. That's not. That's nobody's going to
Right.
be out there with a camera, and you'll catch a day with maybe 5 or 10 people,
Yeah. Well,
and
and
then you
and it's because everybody wants to be out there to get their picture taken, because if they ended up on the front of a magazine, how much money is that worth, right? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, you got sponsors. Sponsors are going to double or triple whatever. And if you're financed like I was paid through O'Neill's and through other people. I was paid good money. You had to have that photo in the magazine, and you had to hold up your Red Bull or something like that, like Job does. And then it creates a conflict there too, because again, you've got the Dahui boys, and the Eddie Rothman, and all those guys. Let me tell you, going back to the drugs. Woo. Anyway, these guys were
No, they ran drugs. They ran a lot of drugs,
they
and they
ran
were
a
the
lot.
muscle, and they were the muscle of the North Shore for
Actually,
sure.
I can't talk about that because the guy's gone to prison and stuff. But the different thing is the only way that you can get cocaine on the island is through the CIA. So you tell me how that happened, and then crack cocaine came in,
Right.
and and then I throw out names and I don't know the whole stories on this, but you're looking at the guys that are doing some of these like the Volcom Reef, and all the rest. Then
Oh
you're
yeah.
looking at it go, okay, these guys Dahui are selling stuff at Costco and all these other places. I remember when you guys were just dealers and
Yeah.
beaters,
Yeah.
you were the enforcers and stuff, and I'm like, how much can I even put in a book without getting my ass kicked?
Right. Right. Yeah.
You
And
know,
it's all
but it's
integrated. It all becomes integrated after that. Yeah.
it's bad, but I mean they incorporated. Like I'm
Yeah.
still a part of Pleasure Point Night Fighters, which is, kind of funny. Pleasure Point had their own enforcement people. Now, Pleasure Point Night Fighters, if you look on Wikipedia, they talk about, well, it was the firemen, the firemen out in Live Oak or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but we turned it into, a surfing enforcement cocaine parties every
Distribution.
Saturday night. you know,
Yeah.
and then you had to know who was distributing and who was doing what, and whether you wanted to show up at the party or not to get involved with maybe there's a narc that's in there that's going to bust this guy down the line. So that's a part of what surfing was. It probably still is. I don't know. Now, here's something that I didn't tell you is when we were surfing back in the back in the 70s when I first, started coming in as a teenager to my 20s, and that's, when I was the best. There's only two ways to get along the world tour or the Hawaii tour, and that was by being sponsored, which was the way I did it, which you didn't make very much money, so you got to work your ass off for that, or dealing.
Yeah.
Only two ways.
Yeah.
There's Let's you're a trust fund baby, like Sean
Yeah.
Thompson. His dad owned a diamond mine.
Yeah.
He had no fingers on his hand. He has cut him off from diamond saws or whatever. Badass, but you don't know Sean Thompson. If you got the guys that were like Ricky Rasmussen or those guys, they were big old heroin and cocaine dealers.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and these
Yeah.
people would end up getting killed in Thailand or somewhere. So
Yeah.
that's the underlying thing that I got in here talking for an hour now. I finally get to the point where I went, okay, this was the drugs, you guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't, surfing was not the purest form that I was trying to do. There was a lot of drugs. And the drugs was mostly in dealing to finance. Heck, I went to the Stubbies contest and another contest, and I was financed by a coke dealer.
Yeah.
We're
Wow.
sitting in first class seat with the vice president of Playboy magazine asking us if we wanted what kind of girls we wanted for the night.
There you go.
Like,
I mean, that.
oh yeah, we got 7 grams of cocaine in our, in our. Never mind.
No, you have a real party. That's the way you really do it back then. But so then you get out of the '70s and you get into the '80s, and now what? What do you do now?
We started a magazine, Surfing and Ocean Sports in Santa Cruz. It started getting popularized where you could actually make a little money. Like I was team captain of O'Neill's 77 through 79, skateboarding. Skateboarding got surfing big.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
um, by the 80s, though, skateboarding had too many lawyers on that, but skateboarding was a big thing to get surfing bigger. Actually, surfing sort of hitched a ride on skateboarding.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know how to segue into that, but in the 1980s, things changed. I mean, it started getting more professional and you started opening up where it wasn't just Hawaii, Australia, California, Florida. All of a sudden, you were starting to get the Brazil nuts. That's what we call them, the Brazil nuts, which are, the greatest surfers around 30
Yeah.
years later. But then they were just terrible surfers and terrible people. But they were good dealers.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm serious. They were good coke dealers.
They've always been good
Uh,
hustlers. Yeah.
and so if you wanted to, get your cocaine cheaper, you go to the Brazil nuts, or else you had to go through Eddie Rothman, and you'd have to go through that kind of thing, and have to deal with the Dewey boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the only game in town. Right.
Honest to God, but the '80s was still really mellow all the way up until the mid '80s. But things were changing. I mean, all of a sudden, chords started being popularized in the smaller days of Pipeline. And so and then you had the changing of the guard also, like the Lopez and the Roy Russells and the Jeff Crawfords were fading out. I was fading out for age. So
Yeah.
you don't have those guys that are there, but then you've got the new Australian surfers, and you don't have just the new one group, like the breaking down the doors with the Australians. You had like 5 guys, Rabbit Bartholomew and Petertown, and that I worked with Surfing Magazine, and a few of these other guys. You had like a 5 or 6 guys, you
Yeah.
know. And then we have 20 or 30 guys, all from different teams from different parts of Australia, and you have 15 guys from the California group, and then you got 2 guys from Brazil, 1 guy from France, 2 guys, 2 groups from Florida, and it
Keeps growing.
metastasized.
It keeps growing.
And it started getting harder and harder. Like, I mean, I started toward the end. I started living up at Sunset Point. I just surf backyards, which is, for you guys that don't know, it's kind of a mild, sort of a closeout place from Sunset Beach, and you could go out there and get slaughtered and have some fun, But if you wanted to surf pipeline during, like Ray's talking about, from October to December when the contests were there, when you have, like, you're going from 15, 20 people at pipeline, it's depending on backdoor days, to 50. And you've got guys that are like me that surf Santa Cruz where you could always catch waves by yourself. Then all of a sudden you've got to deal, if you want to be in a contest, deal with 50 guys in a free surf, and you're only catching 2 waves. That's not a workout. That's not learning the wave. That's not
No.
any ability to do anything. So when you enter into a contest at Pipeline and you're in the Pipeline Masters and you've got 7 waves in 3 days, you're not going to win a contest.
No,
So
you're not.
that's
Yeah.
hostilities got really hard. But in the 80s, things sort of started incorporating.
Going
More
corporate.
so
Yeah.
than just these little eclectic groups that kind of hated each other but tolerated each other. Now you've got team sponsorship, and it started changing things, and you got this new changing of the guard where kids are going, "Hey man, I can find a sponsor. I
Mm.
could actually work for a living." Like when I first started. Okay, that's finding a sponsor and actually living and being able to surf for a living. Back when I was, 14 or 15, I worked at a tannery for 2 summers. I had a
Yeah.
tannery. I slaughtered hides and learned how to weld and do all kinds of stuff to save up my money to go to Hawaii. I mean, there was no sponsorship there. So that was the difference. Is there was a work ethic with surfing and whether it's construction work or whatever else. And people would just be surf bums and collect their unemployment for 3 months and go surfing over in Hawaii.
Yeah.
That changed.
Yeah.
That changed. And now if you go to Hawaii, you've got, and I haven't been there for a while, you got multi-million-dollar houses there. So
Yeah.
you're not going
Yeah.
to
You can't.
rent.
It's the most expensive place in America. I was there a couple of years ago, and I rented a place for a month, I think it was, and I watched like the whole, Pipe Masters and all of that stuff. And I went to, it's great. I was on the North Shore, but it was packed. It's super expensive. It's super busy, and the competition is hot and heavy.
Oh, God, the surfing is, if you ever
Well,
just want to go.
just to get parking there was terrible. I'm not even talking about in the water yet. Just to even get parking, and then if you can't get parking, a lot of people they ride their bike. But then even to park your bike, I mean, it's so crowded now.
Well, I lived and I think I sent you that picture or the pictures on your wall of just the hammock at the Pipe House
Oh yeah, yeah,
with pipeline in the background.
yeah. I
And
got it
that's
right.
the difference between, I'll see if I can drop it too.
No, I got it right
But
here.
that's the difference between, okay,
Yeah.
if you can find it. I sent you so many photos, but man, I had the first batch that I didn't send it very well.
Yeah, but
Oh, well.
that's how surfing is supposed to be. You with your bros out there, going into a pristine lineup, catching some waves, and then grilling some fish.
Okay, I'm dropping this on X.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to drop another picture from my uncle's house at Pipeline, or actually he lived at Pupakea. And okay, uncle didn't have to charge me rent, but try to guess in 1975 what rent was
Yeah.
on the North Shore. It was $50 a month.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. See,
So I don't know
that's
what you
doable.
paid for. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what you paid for, last year or whatever year it was, but
I think it was a couple thousand.
yeah. Okay, yeah, $50 a month. And I spent that year, I think I had $800. I bought two surfboards, because I wasn't sponsored at the time. I bought two surfboards, spent 3 months there, and ate like a king. But
Yeah.
I mean, my uncle knows everybody in the whole freaking world over in Hawaii, so it was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But then once I started living by myself over there, I think it was 1979 or 1980. See, I did construction at the same time. I was going to school for engineering,
Yeah.
so I
Here's
was.
that picture.
Yeah, show the guys that, because I mean that wasn't a that was like the end of Hawaii, as far as I could say, because things are just so expensive now. And you got 150 photographers, and everybody's got cameras, everybody's got jet skis, everybody's got a drone, and everybody's got their angle, and everybody's got their team. It's a different kind of surfing.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if you're
Yeah.
sharing it or not.
Yeah. I am. I'm sharing. Here's that other picture. I showed the one with the hammock. Now I'm showing the one with the palm tree.
Yeah, that's from my uncle's house. Do you see
Yeah.
anybody on the beach? This is a
No.
perfect pipeline. There's
No.
nobody on the beach.
Nobody's
I
on
was
the
like,
beach.
it's just you can go down there, and I'd pick up somebody at the pipe house, which was down by that where the hammock is. It's like 100 yards, 150 yards, and I just find one of the guys, Norman the Conqueror, Norman Heitman, and maybe one other guy that would say, "Okay, let's go surfing," and we'd surf hours in the day, in the morning, all by
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Afternoon also. It was an afternoon picture. It's a blurry, funky picture, but it just kind of shows you that there was still Hawaii there. There
Yeah.
was still where you sit there underneath a coconut tree eating a cone of golden brownie
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Well,
just having a little bit of fun by yourself.
Well, I remember that, surfing originally was very family oriented, and we very much departed from that.
No, it was okay. I told you I was second generation, and that night picture of 1967 with those kids, that was all family. I mean, I'm still friends with some of the people that haven't died, and we could trace our roots one generation. Whereas now, you got the Rothmans that were there, but Rothman wasn't a heavy dude. It was just a dealer, okay?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and the Doohey boys were Hawaiians,
yeah,
and they're still. I mean, like Howes, Clyde and Eddie were both black shorts guys, and I got a patch and everything because I entered contests, but I lived there, so they kind of liked me. I was, I don't know.
So you kind of got the
I
pass. You got the pass.
well, I mean, I am second generation that knew everybody, that had all kinds of friends with Kimo Hollinger and Buzzy Trent and Greg Knoll. These are guys in chat. If you don't know who they are, they're like surfing royalty, you
Yeah,
know. And to be, from what my uncle did, is to do the first Duke Hanamo contest. And Fred Hemmings became a senator in Hawaii. Some of these guys are just well known, but there was only one generation removed. Now from that point, when I say one generation removed, remember I'm a boomer, so I was born in the 50s. By the 70s, there were guys that were still surfing in the night from the 1950s in Waimea when I was surfing. So they were been surfing consistently. I think
right.
Waimea was first surfed in 1957.
Yeah, and
So,
Waimea is the big wave area of Oahu. Where when the really big waves come, that's where you go. You go to Waimea.
but now you have great grandchildren.
Yeah,
I mean, that's 60 more years. You've got you've got great grandchildren, so that the families have grown and people have grown away. They've gone to Guam, they've gone to Bali, they've gone to all the outskirts of Australia. A lot of guys moved to Western Australia just to find a place that okay. The beginning of surfing was you really wanted to find a place to yourself.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
what
heart of
surfing
surfing. Yeah, that's what surfing
was.
is.
You wanted to go out there, you wanted to get away from the wars and the ex-wives and whatever else, and you were just out there by yourself and you're eating abalone on the beach and playing music. And that's what the surf scene began in the first place. And that's why Hollywood really liked it because they're going, yeah, we all want to be here. We want to see what what the surf scene is. And they kind of screwed it all up.
Yeah,
But
they
that's where
commercialized it. They commercialized
you
it, and that's the
yeah.
opposite of what real surfing is. It's not commercialized. Commercialization, they want to monetize it and get as many people involved as possible. Whereas real surfers, it's about yourself. It's about being by yourself, about catching your own food, about being with your family, it's a solitary connection to the waves.
Okay, I told you that my cousin was in the east side of Salsa Brava in Costa Rica. What was that like? You tell me what that was like when you went down there.
It was beautiful. I remember there was a couple
Well,
places. There was like a place I went to Manuel Antonio, and big huge waves, and it was just me and my brother. We paddled out there, and there was nobody else. And it was like overhead waves, and it was slightly drizzling, and it was like we were out in a rainforest. It was incredible. It was like the Garden of Eden kind of thing.
yeah, and then you're by yourself and you're just smiling and saying you and God sort of thing. That's what surfing was.
And we couldn't believe that we were getting these waves just for us. We couldn't believe it.
So you had to travel, what is it, 6,000 miles to get to Costa Rica
Yeah,
to get that feeling where back when I was a kid, all I had to do was ride my bike down to Dana Point and get that same feeling.
yeah,
Or go on San Onofre and go, have fun. And that's the paradise lost.
yeah,
So, getting back to the mid 80s with Hawaii, I just go, okay, I got to go back to college. I got to do this. I got to do that because I'm not an architect. And so that kind of essence of surfing was pretty much over for me. I still surf contests in Santa Cruz, but the thrill was gone. I don't know
yeah,
how else to say it.
yeah,
So I'm going to fast forward to what happened in the 2000s. Is after 15 years living and working in Southern California and just working in hospitals, I had an opportunity for a 50% pay cut to come up here to Northern California and just said I jumped on it. I
yeah.
didn't care about the money anymore. If you've lived a life like I have, where I don't care if you're a hunter or if you just live on a farm somewhere and you feel that quiet, but then all of a sudden you've got skills that you have to live in a
City.
you have to live in the city. You have to
Yeah,
live in the city to make your bones. And then I swear it was claustrophobic for me. I can't, as much as I loved all the culture of Southern California, I loved all the people, man, I had to get out of there because I
yeah,
felt like I was going to get killed. Um, but anyway, coming back up here was sort of, you could go to Oregon or Washington or Alaska or something like that, but then you just don't have. I'm a nurse, so I have to be around hospitals,
right.
and there's only one last hospital up here too. I don't know, Portland. I can go take care of furries up there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're up there in the last remaining pristine conditions of Northern California. Now I have a question. How did you come upon the ROTC guys?
Oh man, you can tell I'm a smartass.
Yeah,
I just and okay. My whole big thing, and I don't know if anybody ever knew this, and when I worked for the state of California, I can't tell you which hospitals I worked because I worked for the criminally insane. It's very dangerous for
yeah.
me to throw
Don't
my
tell anybody. I mean, all the people on the internet are crazy anyway. They'll don't tell them.
yeah. And if you ever get and this does happen, it's happened to me, where you got to change your name and change everything because some guy's after you.
I know people don't
It's
know this,
really
but you used to be black. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I still am. I've got well, you can see freckles. I'm black, and I'm also you guys. Sorry, man. Some Czech Torah.
Yeah.
They call
Yeah.
me the rabbi for a reason. Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. I got a good.
But okay, so
I don't.
how did you find the ROTC guys?
Let me tell you. I got to tell you a little background story first.
Okay.
It's
All
when
right.
I worked for the state of California. There are all these different groups like anger management. There is, drug, blah blah blah. All these little groups came back, and the patients were coming out more pissed off than they were coming in. So I was the first person back in 2000 that said, you know what, we got to do a humor group.
Okay.
So I got approved through the state of California to start a humor group. This is before they did all the dopamine, serotonin receptors, and all the rest. Figure out the mapping of the brain with what humor does. So they let me do that. But the funny thing was, it turned out to be a complete shit show because here I'm working with the worst criminally insane patients in all of the state of California, or this side of the Mississippi. I'm saying we're going to laugh today.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the absolute morbid humor that these fuckers
Yeah.
came up with? I mean, yeah, I chopped off her body and I, stick my dick in her ear or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
off. This was a big fail.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm thinking, humor's great, but that was like the 2000s. So I don't know, jump to, was it 2016 or something? I'm just looking for funny stuff,
Yeah.
funny stuff to, and I'm not a comedian or anything like that. I just find weird cynical sarcasm. And I saw these guys on ROTC that were doing stuff that was, everybody was going to the Owen Benjamin shit.
Yeah.
And I've seen them a few times before. I'm going, I've got this ability to find, and I think a lot of people on our OTC can see this ability of whether people are full of shit or not.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, let's cut through the bullshit and let's see it. And I saw Royce and Mersh just ragging on Owen Benjamin and what a con, on all the rest with the Beartopia. And there were a couple guys in our OTC that go, yeah, Benjamin's the thing. And they just ragged on him. I think it lasted 2 months, and maybe it
Yeah.
lasted a year. I'm
Yeah. I
going,
think it was a
son of a
year. Yeah.
bitch, I like these guys,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is great. I got into it. Then I got to be moderator for Royce, and I got lost that. Whatever. I'm too
Uh-oh.
old.
Uh-oh. Getting in trouble. Getting in trouble. But
Ah, no, I deserved it. I deserved it. Fuck you, Frozo.
Oh, going after Frozen Asian a little bit. That's funny. Yeah, I ask everybody. I was like I asked Hillbilly Harry the other day. I was like, how'd you come across Royce and Mersh and ROTC? And then I asked other people that, and they always have interesting stories. And you're right, you can see through the bullshit.
Royce has that quick wit. I don't know if anybody has a more of 100-mile wit than anybody that I know. He's funnier than hell. And then you've got Mersh. I call him the street psychologist. I've been calling him a street psychologist for. I don't know if he likes to think about that or anything. I mean, you got this guy that was freaking stripper manager.
Yeah.
Stripper manager. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not know if I like Mersh in real life,
Yeah.
but because I'm going stripper manager, I'm going to go on the other side of the street. What the hell? Who are you? But
Yeah.
he's got this ability to see through the shit more than anybody else because he's had to deal with some of the worst kind of people in the world.
Yeah.
And
That's the truth.
kind of, and I came to that just going, okay, wait, you got this Cuban guy that's got a Cuban missile type of miles per hour wit, and then you've got this other guy that's just, hey man, I drink, I smoke, I do everything, and he's had such a hard life. I mean,
Yeah.
he's completely open about having a hard life, and I go, man, I was a psychiatric nurse trying to get to that point where you could talk to a person and go through all the bullshit and say, okay, this is who you really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why it keeps me going with ROTC, is I could laugh my ass off, but then I could go, to Mersh's, Nightwave, and I can go, okay, this is a deep, dark bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And Mersh's credibility in that group, and I don't know all the people in the group anymore. But he has that ability to actually say, hey, you know what? This guy's going to go through some troubles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
then he
real.
shows-
It's real. Yeah.
And as it's, just me looking for humor, that's one thing. But I'm also, I hate to say it, but I like to analyze. I like to see what's going on, and more often than not, they're on target.
Yeah, yeah,
And if you've got guys that are going to Alex Jones show, and bringing people in that they know, I mean, gosh, what's a Ryan something Ryan Long?
yeah, yeah,
These guys are top of the. They're good.
yeah.
I don't have that skill, but I like who they bring in. And with comedy, there's always that ability to tell the truth and have somebody kind of laugh at themselves.
Yeah, it's a little tongue-in-cheek action. Now, I got one more question for you. I want to know, when are you going to write that book?
Somebody's got to kick me in the ass. I've tried it so many times.
Have you been
It's
writing
just,
it this? Have you been writing it this whole time?
mm,
Because not only do you
no,
have the book, but you have all the pictures too.
I've screwed it up so many times. Like Microsoft Word has destroyed my stuff on Google. Destroyed it, and you get 200 or 300 pages, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore.
Oh yeah, that's got to be depressing. Yeah.
And, Microsoft Word, and there was another one through Amazon that I just tried, and it just screwed up every single chapter, and created word problems also.
Ah,
It I don't know what the hell it did, but I'm like, okay, I've tried it seriously online 3 times, but I can't write things like the good old days where you just write stuff
yeah.
and have somebody transcribe it.
Well,
So
we
I
need
don't
that.
know.
We need
You
that
know,
book. We got to figure something out and how to get this book together. One of your last hurrah or something like that to put this book together. Make you a nice little piece of coin on it because you got some really gold here, buddy.
I really want to, Ray. I need help, to tell you the truth. I need, like I said, I need that motivation gets lost when you're a boomer. It just gets lost. It's like, honestly, it's low T or whatever else you want to call it. It's like the drive isn't there, man. You drive and drive and drive and drive, and you're just going, oh shit, I'm old now.
Oh
And do
yeah.
I still have this motivation to be able to do this one last thing that I really want to do? You're encouraging me, other people are encouraging me, and I'm like, you know what? I need a nagging wife. You
Well,
know,
if there's any nagging wives out in the audience, CK needs a little help with that. Okay, we need some nagging wives.
please give me phone numbers and stuff. A little video camera will help. Let me know what you look like. I don't
Yeah.
like trans. I'm sorry.
Well, hey,
And,
different.
you gotta
That's right.
have money. You gotta have some money.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
have some money so I can do the book, and I'll pay you back on
Yeah, yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah. Right. Well, no. We'll put the. We'll try to figure out. We'll try to figure out how to get this story together. That'd be a good little a project. A little very interesting. I think a lot of people would like to hear it. And like I said, you step forward, the opportunity presents itself, and you got a lot of really interesting stories. You got a crazy life, CK.
My life has been, honest to God, what you guys see on Twitter or wherever else, my life has been fantastic and fun. And I always look for the fun. I look for the humor. And, I've got my little cringe side or whatever else. But I think because of the hardships that I've gone through, that's probably how I deal with Mersh a little bit better than Royce. Um,
Well, I'm sure you. I mean, they're both
I like
probably
both
great.
I like both
Yeah.
of the guys. I'm not going to say that, but I like the evening things where I can just kind of sit down in dream world and listen to that kind of stuff. But man, Royce to wake up in the morning with
Yeah.
with that stuff. He wakes up in the morning. There's no politics. There's no this. There's no that. You got 4 different guys all gabbing about some funny shit, and I can't remember half of the stuff, but that keeps me going, going segueing back to me from what those guys are doing. I want to When I first started writing this book, Ray, it was very serious.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to incorporate humor into it. And if I mean, you do things cartoonish with trying to find that humor, and
Yeah.
it's one of those kind of things, sometimes you can't find the humor and you get too serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're like, you've got a humor block.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Or
you
and
got to
with
keep it funny. You have to keep it. The funnier it is, the more serious you can tell stories. You know, if it's
there
not
you go.
funny, if it's not funny, you can't really get as sad as you need to be. You know, because you can't come back.
I mean, I've had, talking about my mother, with cancer and all that. There's nothing funny about that shit. But yeah, there is something funny because on Halloween, she had all these stupid, these old plaster of Paris legs, extra legs. And I took one of those legs and I stuck them, I'm walking around with extra legs in the back. I mean, that's funny shit. You could tell
Yeah,
the story about how horrible thing is about, what's this kid doing with his mother's legs? Walking
yeah,
around the thing for Halloween kind of
yeah,
shit. And
yeah,
one of the parents, told on me,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
had to give up the leg. But the humor thing is something that I've really been trying to work on. And then I start telling these stories, and you can tell, we've been talking for an hour and a half now. I just start going off on these tangents,
I
and
hear you.
and
I hear
that's
you.
what that is. I mean, I want to tell more of the story to give a chronological viewpoint and to what do you I don't know what they call it in writing is you've got to set the stage.
Yeah,
And then with the setting of the stage, like Leo Tolstoy is one of my favorite writers, but he wrote War and Peace and it was 640 pages
yeah,
long. 1,640 pages. And I talk like that. I want to give you a chronological thing that I'm going to bring you back to this, and I'm going to bring you back to a funny story, and somehow it's going to, evolve into something in some circular manner. And that's a hard write.
that is. That is.
And,
Yeah.
and
But I mean, you can do it. You can do it. And we'll see what we can do if we can't talk to somebody, or maybe we'll do a couple of these videos, and maybe somebody will come forward and say, "Hey, I'm the person to help CK write his book." You never know,
that'd be
CK.
great. I
Yeah.
mean, some of the stuff that fill in the blanks with some of your great artwork would be
Oh yeah, for
fantastic.
sure. Yeah, that's easy. But it's actually getting that
Well, yeah,
story
for
out.
you it is. Me, I can't, draw stickmen without looking if they got something.
Well, some
You
people
know,
can't surf pipeline, and you did that. So how about that? Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
not a short-lived thing.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
I know, but
gentleman.
nobody can ever take that away from you, though. I surfed pipeline
Well,
too. No, nobody can take that away from you. You know.
here's something that to tell the audience because I know we're wrapping up is, man, if you've got a goal in your life, like I've got multiple black belts and I surf pipeline and I've screwed up marriage, but almost everything, actually everything that I wanted to do, I've done. And there's a
Uh,
contentedness in my boomerism that's like, I designed 100 homes. I
yeah.
designed them, and I did commercial stuff also, but the designs that I've shown you some, and I still see like Leon Patillo from Carlos Santana, and that's shit that we don't even talk about here. I did that.
Right.
And then I quit everything and I became an RN,
Yeah.
you know, and psychiatric RN, and I worked with freaky people and got to see Charlie Manson's med stuff and all that. And I loved it. And it's something that's
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. We're gonna work on this book. I'll help you, or we'll find somebody to help you to help get it to a point where it's coherent, where you can put it together, where it can be interesting. Because I know everybody would love to read it. I mean, you go from surfing, you go to designing homes, then you go into Gotham City, and you're dealing with the Joker, in the asylums. I mean, that's incredible, right? And you got your stories. It must be endless, and there's all this fascinating stuff. So we're gonna do this again. We're gonna get these stories out, and then we're gonna figure out how to make this happen. And just so you could, put down that little mark that in your hey, I was here in the world. CK was here. I lived this crazy life, and check it out. Once upon a time.
yeah. And if somebody wants to give me a really good camera, that's fine, but the waves only get good 6 times a year. Well, I'm open to that. I'm open to getting a good camera, but I feel really guilty about that because, man, I just, I swear I'm winding down, and for me to go out there and push myself, sometimes it kind of hurts. That's why I
Yeah,
get
no,
these injections.
we don't want you
But
pushing
maybe
yourself.
that's
We
what
just
I
want you to
did.
be
It's
happy.
kind of working it down. But I would feel guilty about that.
No, we
I
just want
really
you to
would.
be happy, bro. We don't want you to have to push yourself or nothing like that. You know, it's your time to tell your story, and that's why I'm here. And as soon as you and I started talking, I was like, holy shit, he's naming real names. He has real pictures. I got to talk to this guy. You know.
Yeah, that was really cool how we met. It's I told you something, you go, shit, I want to talk to you more. I go, okay, that's cool. That
Yeah.
rarely happens. Hills, Hillbilly, and K-Rads, and some of these guys are really optimistic dudes.
Yeah.
And I try to surround myself with really optimistic people. Silk Stream, gosh darn it, the new guy, the Presbyterian dude.
Yeah.
Some of
Presby,
these guys
bro. Yeah.
funnier than shit and good. They can wrap up, in a couple sentences what it's taken me an hour and a half to do. And I love those kind of people. Try to surround myself with really optimistic, funny guys that can just cut through the bullshit really quick. Yeah, and that goes back to ROTC. They're one of the rare people that are able to do that. You are. Ray Ray is happy. I used to sign my stuff. CK is happy. And I see you, I'm going, shit, did we have the same, no, couldn't have had the same mother,
Yeah.
same dad.
We were on the same wave, bro. We were on the same wave. Yeah.
What's that? Must have been the father.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that. But no, so that's what I want to do. I'm excited about it. I want you to be excited about it and think about your stories. And we'll do this again, maybe in a week, maybe in 2 weeks, and think about what you want to pull together. And we'll talk some more about this kind of stuff. And it's fascinating. Your history is fascinating. And I wasn't just joking around. I said, hey, I got to talk to you. I was like, CK. You got the history I want to know about. I met some of these people, the same people you're talking about. I met their kids or whatever.
Yeah, there's some really good people in the surfing world. It's not like all Ridgemont High. It's not like Point Break. It's even the guys that were the dealers and all the rest. Or some of those guys have great families.
Yeah, yeah. And they're good people too.
Yeah, I don't want to just say, hey man, it's Joe Harrell or it's Joe this or Joe that. I don't want to do that because, especially getting on in life, you don't want to really talk trash to people that you were good friends with for 30 years or something.
No,
It's
no,
it's
you don't
not.
want to. You don't want to do that, and you don't want to ruin the relationships because the relationships are precious and they're rare, and you want to hold on to them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Well, thanks. I know we got to
yeah,
go off here, but yeah, let's do it again if you want. Well, we can go more into detail on certain things, but yeah, it's really hard, to try and wrap up so many years of life and throwing it in a book. The other thing that's really hard is, as much as it's been fun, it's really hard to talk about myself without telling people about how hard the shit's been to get that goal. Again, Hills with Jared. He's going to lose more than he's going to win.
right.
Everybody loses more before they win, and it's that drive to get there, and it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it
Um,
doesn't. And
and it's
it takes a long
very,
time.
I just really am optimistic, and I try and be an encourager. But when it comes to talking about myself, that's about the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, it's tough. It
I
is. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to interview you. So I get to ask you the questions and like wind you
I
up and
think
have you talk story, and then I sit back and listen. And so you're telling me about yourself, which I appreciate.
I got a ton of stories, man.
Yeah.
I got too many stories.
Well, I don't want to hold you much longer. We're almost going to go on 2 hours right here, and I just want to say I appreciate it and thanks for talking with me, CK. And we'll talk after this, and I'll schedule for some more, and I'll get them more pictures together, and we'll get that story out there.
All right, we'll do it.
All
That's
right,
cool.
buddy. Well, anything else you want to say before we jump off here?
No, just everybody in chat. Thanks for tolerating me.
Yeah, yeah, and and we met over from the ROTC guys too, and I just want to put that out there, and I sure appreciate them, and and everybody that's connected with the ROTC group and the ROTC universe. And I think we're all looking to connect like that. So thanks, CK, for coming on and talking story and all that great shit. So I appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, clip that. All right, take care.
Clip that. All right. We're out of here, people. All right. See y'all later.